After the 1997 Montreal Screwjob, Bret Hart going to WCW should have been a huge affair. Sadly, it was lackluster, with WCW not really interested in Bret, but rather cared about taking away WWF's top star. In this video we go over how Bret Hart should have been booked, even with the creative control that existed with other talent at the time. Instead of debuting Bret Hart on Nitro, Bret would debut at Starrcade 97, WCW's biggest pay-per-view in history, to give more of a boost to the event. Bret addresses the Montreal Screwjob and says he wants the WCW World Heavyweight Championship because never lost his world title. Out comes Bischoff with Conan, Vincent, and Bagwell, who offer Bret to join the NWO, but he outright refuses and knocks them down. Later that night, Sting wins the WCW World Heavyweight title clean off of Hollywood Hogan, without the nonsense finishes it had. Bret Hart wouldn't show up on Nitro the next night, but to promote the debut of WCW Thunder, Bret confronts Sting in the middle of the ring and makes a challenge for the WCW World title. While Sting accepts, Bischoff, Hall and Nash show up, setting up a tag match at Sold Out with Bret and Sting taking on the Outsiders. Bret manages to get in the sharpshooter on Hall for the win. Hollywood Hogan makes a return the next night and demands a rematch for the title. Commissioner J.J. Dillon makes a decision to have Bret face Hogan at Super Brawl 8 to determine the #1 contender. Despite the NWO harassing Bret on Thunder, Sting makes a save, though Bret wants no help from him. At Super Brawl, as Sting watches from the rafters, Bret and Hulk face off. Bret gets in the sharpshooter on Hulk. The NWO take out the referee even as Hulk is tapping out. Sting comes down for the save. Bret shoves Sting, not wanting his help at all. Sting strikes Bret's gut with his bat, only for Hulk to get a roll-up win. Bret on Nitro talks about how he was screwed by Sting to lose the match and demands that J.J. Dillon do something about it. Dillon comes out and confronts Bret, saying that he'll give Bret a chance as he has a one-time guaranteed shot, but it will be his only shot in a steel cage triple threat match for the WCW title at Uncensored. At Uncensored, at the end of the main event, Bret, Hulk, and Sting all make for the climb up the cage at the same time, with Bret managing to climb over the fastest to become the new WCW World Heavyweight Champion. This begins Bret's run as the face of WCW, while the NWO make numerous attempts to take back the title. Bret defends his title against Kevin Nash at Spring Stampede, feuds with the Giant at Slamboree, takes on Randy Savage at the Great American Bash, and finally meets Hulk Hogan at Bash at the Beach by defeating him with the sharpshooter, though Hogan was unconscious at the time. Bret Hart finally loses the title at Road Wild to Goldberg. Bret attempted the sharpshooter 3 times, but Goldberg managed to break the hold each time and land the jackhammer for the win. Bret would later move on to win the US title on an episode of Nitro. Bret would eventually win the 60-man World War III Battle Royale for a shot at the WCW World title, leading to a rematch at Starrcade 98 with Goldberg in a champion versus champion match. He loses the US title to Goldberg. In frustration, the next night Bret helps Diamond Dallas Page win the US title off of Goldberg, giving WCW Nitro a win over Raw and breaking Goldberg's streak in the process. In anger, Goldberg demands a rematch with Bret at Sold Out in a ladder match as Bret finally regains the WCW World title that night. At Super Brawl 9, Bret defeats Sting, but loses the title the next night to Diamond Dallas Page after Bischoff screws Bret Hart by forcing J.J. Dillon to ring the bell when DDP reverses the sharpshooter on Bret. Bischoff explains that Dillon owed him a favor. He says he wanted to screw Bret because he can't stand him being the WCW World Champion, and that he understood why Vince McMahon did what he did. This starts a feud between Bret and Bischoff, even leading to a match between the two. Bret would continue on in WCW. The concussion incident that ended his career doesn't happen, and he would leave in 2000 due to a dispute with Vince Russo. What did you think of this alternate booking? Comment, like, subscribe, and thank you for watching In the Plot.